Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 5th grade concept of simplifying expressions and order of operations. This is standard 5.4F in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 23 of the 2022 released STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have an expression here. It's called an expression simply because there's no equal sign. If there was an equal sign, we'd be looking at an equation. And so we just need to simplify the value of this expression. So hopefully when we're looking at parentheses and addition, we're thinking of order of operations. So I always think of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's how I was taught when I was in school. Just remember the 6 letters. Now, obviously, that doesn't help us. We need to know that the P stands for parentheses. E, rather than excuse, is going to be exponent. We really don't get into exponents much in 5th grade. Really, they show up more in 6th grade and beyond. So M is multiply. D is divide, A is add, the S is subtract. Now, we also need to realize that these really live in 4 different layers. So moving from top to bottom, you're always going to deal with the parentheses first. If an exponent does show up, that comes second. But multiply and divide are inverse operations. They're on the same level, they're equal. Which means you can do a division first before multiplication if you see it left to right. In order to make our little saying work, we just have to put one first. And then same with add and subtract. Those are our weakest operations, but they are inverse operations. So if you see subtraction before an addition, you can do it left to right. So those are order of operations. Let me rewrite this because you might not have noticed there are actually 2 different times I'm going to need to multiply in this expression. And if you're not looking for it, it's going to seem like all I'm doing is adding a whole bunch of stuff. Well, multiplication gets kind of strange, starting in 5th grade and above. We imply it a lot of times. We'll use different formats to show it. So let's deal with the parentheses first. We'll get to multiplication when it's time to multiply. So we've got one parentheses that we need to deal with because this parentheses right here actually has an operation inside of it. So let's do 25 plus 19. We'll look at that 3 in just a second. 25 plus 19, that's going to be 14. All right, so that's 44. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to simplify one at a time. I'm going to rewrite the expression right underneath it. But I'm just going to simplify that 25 plus 19 into 44. Keep everything else the same. So when we're simplifying expressions, it's always good to kind of write it vertically like this. Only do one thing at a time. So if you mess up somehow, you can always go back and figure out where you messed up. If you try to do 2 or 3 steps at once, that's when things get messy. Mistakes happen. So I've got 3 parentheses 44. I've got 4 parentheses 3. I know I have an addition. Here's the interesting thing. I could also rewrite this as 3 times 44 plus 4 times 3. When you have a number outside of a parentheses, it is implied that it is going to be a multiplication. We just don't really know what to do with multiplication anymore. We used to say it was x, but now we're going to start seeing x in equations as unknown, so x is a variable. Then we taught you, well, let's just do, a little dot. Well, if my dot gets too low, that can look like 3.44, right? So that's kind of confusing. And so we just kind of imply it. So this 3 outside of parentheses is just 3 times 44. Well, now I need to do my multiplication, right? So we know that's a fact. That's 12. I don't know what 44 times 3 is. So that's 12. That's 12. That's 13. So that's 132 plus 12. So I need to simplify that because I finally have my addition left. So let me just add my 12. That's going to be 144b.